Hi, Saritha.
Hi, Saurabh.
Good
Very good
morning.
morning
Yeah.
and good afternoon.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon to you.
It's
So,
good afternoon in Australia, yes.
right. So, thank you so much for joining me all the way from Australia. Yeah, and it would be a really great session talking to you and seeing your pictures and seeing your lovely pictures, and then you telling us a little bit about how you took them. So, I think that would be a great learning for us today. So, welcome
Yes,
all.
thank you very much for having me at this session today. And I would love to share all about my journey with the viewers today.
Great. Great. So maybe just I'll just introduce the viewers on a little bit what you have done. So yeah, little bit about Sarita I'm going to talk about, and then maybe she can give her introduction. So Sarita finds beauty in everything in this world. That's such a wonderful thing that you have written here. And she started her photographic journey as a travel and nature photographer. I remember your macro shots were also really amazing. I remember those shots still, right? And she has explored a lot of different artistic fields and enjoyed learning this form of art, although this it's multi-dimensional facets. And now she is heading more towards still life and food photography, and of course she has been really popular sharing her food pictures and working on different very interesting projects on food photography. And she has trained photography aspirants and conducted a lot of basic and advanced level workshops on photography and image post processing, macro, street food photography in different cities, and delivered a lot of presentations and speeches and webinar, and of course she is doing one with us right now. Okay, she has been doing work commercially for a lot of restaurants and food companies, and about last year she shifted to Brisbane in Australia. So I welcome you, Sarita, once again, and thank you so
Thank
much
you once
for
again.
joining us. So please tell us a little bit about your life journey as a photographer so far.
Sure. As a child, I was a painting artist. I used to do a lot of abstract painting work. And after a few years, that is before the year 2010, I used to get this vision that I am clicking pictures with a camera, and this flash was popping in my head quite a number of times. So I decided to just understand what photography is and learn photography for the fun, and never had an idea to go so deeply into it because I had a very responsible job with an education company then. I was barely getting one day, that is Sunday, off, and
Hmm.
I had little time, but still I wanted to explore photography. So I took up some introductory classes in the year 2010,
Okay.
and I never realized that I would plunge into it so deeply
Mm.
and that I would one day become a teacher and also deliver commercial photography services. It is in fact quite surprising. I mean, I really had no such big expectations when I just started photography, and I'm feeling grateful that today I've just been able to achieve more than what I thought I would.
Okay, so maybe if you can tell us a little bit about the milestones in your photography journey. So how you started, and then what you started doing, a little bit of travel and macro or whatever, and then how
Yes,
food photography
yes.
attracted you.
Yes, I basically started doing all kinds of photography. Like anything and everything. I was trying everything, but I especially got interested in macro photography. I really liked the way it allowed me to take large pictures of tiny subjects. So for 3 years, I was deeply into macro photography, and every Sunday I used to go to a place in and around Hyderabad where I could find macro subjects. I did a lot of insects and flowers photography, and parallelly, I was also exploring travel heritage, seascape. I was trying everything. I kind of was giving myself a chance to discover the area of specialization. So I was just trying everything, and surprisingly, I was enjoying everything. But out of this, macro was really, really very fascinating. And I kind of continued pursuing everything in the last 4 or 5 years. I was finding myself getting attracted to food images. That is still life photography. Of course, food is a part of still life photography. Creative still life images of regular subjects and mainly food photography. So I just thought, let me try food photography also, and I got into it, and I really wanted to do it every day. And due to the limitation of time, I had to give up all the other streams rather than being jack of all trades. I understood that I have to kind of get deeply into one area. And now, since 4 years, I'm into it.
So, are you also a foodie?
Of course, it all starts from there.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
So, so I can't wait to show your pictures, see your pictures, and you telling us a little bit about them. And maybe in the meantime, in between, I'll ask you some questions related to your
sure.
photography career. Okay, so let me
Definitely.
let me share my screen, and yeah, you can tell us a little bit about how you took them.
Surely. So this was probably taken around 5 years back. Yeah, 4 5 years back, and there's a simple setting. I mean, one day as I was getting home from work, I found this attractive corn available. So I just picked up. I generally do my shooting in the morning hours in natural lighting condition, and I set up the fire with the coal and just took the shot. It's in fact a simple image, but this is one of my favorite pictures
Okay, so
because
was
it's a
this
simple.
very
What
simple?
I like to do in my journey is as a food photographer is I want to enhance the beauty of the simple subjects that I see. I mean, I'm rather not into massive styling. Of course, I have also done commercial photography, for restaurants where it involved a lot of styling and arrangements. But my personal preference is creating beautiful images out of such simple and regular subjects.
So, yeah, because you said this, let me ask you this question right away. So, you see, you have your own style of doing things. So, you said that you want to do things in a very simple way, but when you go to a client will have some other point of view. So, how do you think that you match that thing? How do you have that win-win situation between what you like to do and between what the client wants? And
That's a
how do
good
you?
question.
Yeah.
I get up for every kind of situation. I also, in fact, most of it for is for my personal collection. I've also kind of done a lot of photography work where it involved a setting, big setting, and stylish food styling and arrangement in such a way that it gives a professional feel. So I'm into both, but personally, for my satisfaction, it is always the simple subject, and creating artistic images out of it is what is my goal. Is.
So, how much of planning goes into doing something like this? So, though this looks very simple, I'm sure you might have spent some time, setting up the whole thing.
A
Maybe in terms,
lot of
yeah.
time. And there are instances where I've had a visualization of a particular subject for months or weeks also. I mean, it's not just that you spot something, you have your camera, and it's not a scene that you're shooting spontaneously or instantaneously. A lot of planning goes once you know what you're going to shoot. You got to plan the background, you got to arrange for the supporting elements. So it takes, sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes it takes hours, sometimes it takes days together of planning, collecting it, and finally implementing the shot.
Okay. So if you can take us through the whole workflow, say you have an idea, you can conceive that idea right from that point to having that processed output. So what are the different steps? Maybe you can, you probably write it down in a notebook and then look for what are supporting elements and look for, yeah. So can you please take us through that whole process? So that will be very helpful for the people who are watching us.
Yes, sure. In fact, sometimes I mean, while I'm driving to work or I'm doing my regular work, there's like ideas floating into my
Hmm.
head. I mean, why can't I take the subject like this in a particular location or against a background? So sometimes, I mean, the ideas are so many that I have to jot it down, like what I want to shoot, the number of subjects that I want to shoot. And then I try to have a visualization. I try to figure out uh, the background that would enhance the subject and the kind of ingredients or the kind of supporting elements that would make the image look beautiful and basically make the subject look like a hero, and then go about collecting the props. And sometimes I have to paint. I generally paint my backgrounds. I have to paint a particular background which goes so well against the subject. And most of the time, I already paint the backgrounds and have them in my collection, like the gray, the black, the white ones, and brown ones. These really go well with all kinds of subjects. But there are some colors that require a special background. So I start painting and then I go about collecting it. As it is, as it goes in my experience, it's 95% preparation and 5% implementation. I mean, the
Okay.
shooting time is actually 5 minutes, and the preparation is 95%.
Mhm. So your skills as a painter definitely helps here because you said you
It
paint your
does.
background yourself. So
Yes, it does. It
okay,
does.
okay, great. All right. So did you have any formal training in photography, Sarita?
Well, I did my graduation, regular graduation in commerce and post graduation in business administration. I did
Okay,
not go through any graduation or degree courses in photography, but to
okay.
get an idea to understand what photography is, I took some introductory classes
Mm.
with Fortria Studios in
Okay,
Hyderabad,
okay.
and it was a weekly 2 or 3 classes,
Hmm.
and that went on for 2 months. And subsequently, as we all understand, photography is a lifelong learning
Learning,
process.
absolutely.
It doesn't anywhere, and even if you are spending 20 hours in a day to learn, there's still a lot more that you still have to kind of understand and know more and more about. So it's the education is ongoing. It happens every day in all forms.
Right. Okay. So who are the photographers who have really influenced you in maybe in general photography or in food photography?
It's a good question and difficult question also, because I was into many streams. I go through so many images in a day, and any good picture coming from any artist influences me, and I'm inspired. It doesn't have to be a senior, it can be a beginner also. So that way, I like the work of many artists. You're one of them, in fact. And
Oh, I'm so glad.
that way, it would be difficult to name one or two people, but definitely many streams. Just because I'm pursuing food photography, it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the work. I mean, the landscape or seascape images. I go through a lot of images, and definitely each and every good image that I see, especially when there is creativity and artistic aspect that I see, It definitely it inspires me. In fact, the other day I had an opportunity to be the judge for the images that the particular group has received for the competition that they've held. And the theme was COVID-19. I mean, the kind of emotions that people are going through, facing the lockdown or the job cuts or the frustration of being at home. And there are lovely images that have come to me. I don't know the name of the artist, but some of them are so good. They're so expressive, and that really, I don't know who the artist is, but like I took a lot of inspiration from those images also. So it's like there are probably the whole world of photographers are inspiring me.
Right, right. So, so what is okay? Let us go to the next picture. Okay, wow, it's so beautiful. I
Thank
feel
you.
like having picking up one of those laddus and having them right now.
Yes. So this is specifically shot for Ganesh festival. I mean, this was taken 1 or 2 years back when I was in India, and this is my favorite god.
Mm.
I wanted to create an image for the theme. So it was for 1 week. This theme was in my mind, and I had to find a perfect idol, Ganesha idol. I went looking for a simple, small one.
Mm.
And then I had to go hunt the sweet stores to get laddus like this. And of course, all the supporting elements I keep handy at home.
Okay. So how did you decide the size of the Ganesha and the laddu, the proportion? I'm just little curious to know that.
That's a very interesting question. Well, I don't want laddus overshadowing Lord Ganesha idol, and at the same time, Lord Ganesha, making the laddus insignificant. So, in my visualization, I am clear about the size of laddus. So, all I had to do was ensure that I get an idol which is going to show both the important elements of the image in an attractive manner. So, visualization is such an important aspect in food photography, and 85% of the work happens in your visualization. So, most of the time, it happens. The image comes out as per your visualization, but sometimes it doesn't. But fortunately, this went off well.
Okay. So how many shots typically would you take in a short shoot like this?
I would, it depends. I mean, most of the time I try to change the backgrounds. So for example, taking this image, I tried it with a brown background and also with a black one. Initially, in my visualization, it was black. So as soon as I'm done with the black background shooting, I change it, and sometimes I rearrange the elements. It can be anywhere between 50 images to 350 also. There's
Wow.
so much of rearrangement. For
Wow.
instance, the diya, I
Wow.
tried putting it everywhere, left side, right side, in the
Mm.
center, but
Mm.
I guess this worked pretty
Yeah, this
well.
worked
So
pretty
I
well.
have to, yeah, yeah. So I had to try arranging and rearranging, removing lot of sub objects and placing a lot of other elements in the frame. So that way, sometimes I have taken 350 also and just picked one image out of it.
Wow, and it looks so simple. So that's a very good learning for the people who are watching us. So though it looks so simple and everything perfectly arranged, so you always try different. Once you are, even if you are happy with the shot, you are always trying different alternatives and see if you can get something
Exactly.
better than what you really have right now. Great.
That's one of the important aspects of still life photography. You should never be satisfied with one setting or one color theme or one angle. So
Okay.
you have to try multiple angles, multiple settings, multiple colors.
Right. And can you please tell us a little bit about the light setup that you had for this picture?
I am a natural light fan.
Okay.
90%, 95% of my images are taken in my balcony. And this is completely done with natural light. I block the light on the uh, left side and allow the light to flow from the right side on the screen. So I generally like to have the aspect of light and shadows in my image that enhances the textures. A few food photographers do not prefer shadows in their image, but it's a matter of personal choice.
But I
There is
really like
nothing
it this
called
way.
right or wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But this is really working out well. And what kind of post processing have you done to this picture?
This is basic. See, by and large, the post processing work is minimal in food images because you know what you want. You know how much of scene you are going to include.
Right,
So it's all about color enhancement, contrast, and removing the unwanted elements. So, and
right.
enhancing highlights and shadows.
Okay. So which tool do you use to work on your pictures?
I work on Photoshop, is what I prefer, though Lightroom is also good
Okay. So,
for
but you
food
prefer
for
Photoshop. Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right. And since everybody is always curious to know what gear do you use for taking these pictures, can you please let us know a little bit about it?
Yes, I am a Canon person. I've been a Canon person all the while. I started with 550D and then went on to get a Mark II, and now I'm presently using Mark IV, and all my lenses are Canon lenses.
Mm.
For still life and food photography, I'm using Canon 2470 mm and macro 100 mm lens. Of course, I have other lenses like fisheye and portrait lens also in my collection. That's because I was into every stream. So I do have a
So,
collection, but it's all
yeah.
Canon.
So if I give you the choice to choose one lens for food photography, which one would you choose?
2470 mm. I mean, it's ultimate,
Okay. So
in
a
my
lot of
opinion.
people,
Yeah.
okay. So a lot of people choose the Tamron
Prime lens.
yeah, prime lens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yes.
yeah. So what is
I
your,
feel it's a matter of comfort and your personal style that you
okay,
kind of try to show. So for my kind of photography, 2470 mm works. And it's again, it depends on the style that the photographer prefers. So again, there is nothing called perfect or an ultimate lens that's designed for everybody. So it's all a matter of choice.
okay, all right. So how important do you think the gear plays a role in food photography?
Uh, yes, this is important, but I would like to talk a bit about this gear aspect probably a little later.
Okay,
Food
okay, fine.
photography, to be honest, you can click amazing pictures even with your mobile phone and with bare minimum equipment. I mean, even with the basic camera and kit lens, you can create outstanding images. So you don't have to really get boggled about having sophisticated equipment in hand.
Right.
So you
So
can do it even with a mobile or
yeah,
with any
yeah. So
camera that you have.
yeah. So the reason I'm asking this, there are a lot of people who want to start, but they say I have this very basic kit lens and
Exactly.
an entry level
Yes.
camera. Is it any good for doing pictures like this? So
I'm going to talk about this today
okay,
because
great.
I know it is kind of becoming a hindrance for many photographers.
Right, right.
So I want to talk about it probably at the end of the session.
Sure, sure. So let's move to the next picture. Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, so this is, I mean, this did not require extraordinary setting. All that was needed were coffee beans. Obviously, it's a kind of straightforward. And I had the visualization for 1 or 2 weeks, and I went to the coffee house and picked up these beans. And then I had to decide like what kind of image I wanted to shoot, and what kind of lens would fit in. And of course, macro 100 works for this, because I want to highlight one particular bean, and of course have the atmosphere that the beans are spread out. So this is again shot in natural lighting condition. I used ring flash for this.
Okay. So I feel this is very different compared to all your pictures, because there you set up the whole thing. You have lot of supporting
Yes,
elements apart from the hero, but
yes,
so here it is just about the hero. So how do you decide
yes.
on that?
Yes, what I would generally food photographers have one particular style. I mean, they have a style in presenting the dishes in a particular style, and you would know, okay, this is their work. What I'm trying to do is bring in a lot of variation. I don't want to be identified with one particular style. So I want to do a close-up shot of one subject, and then then a shot of a wide setting. So I'm trying both macro close-up and as well as wide angle shots.
Okay, all right. Wow, very nice.
Uh, yeah. This is cheese and crackers. I have taken this image in Australia. And this is probably one of the first set of images that I have clicked after coming here. So now I wish to kind of explore shooting international food. So this is one of those trials.
Is there any difference that you find in Indian foods compared to international foods?
Oh yes, a lot, a lot. The color, there is so much of variation in the colors. I mean, you find a lot of cheese, a lot of bread, a lot of bakery food here. And Indian food is like very colorful, like you find spices, it's oily, it's like it's got a lot of colors. So I enjoy doing both.
Okay, great. I really love this picture. Very nice.
Yes, yes, one of my personal favorites. I always love this pickle jars. I have collected these in different sizes, and chilies, obviously. I mean, anybody who's been following my work understand that I love chili. So uh, this is a visualization that I had for, I guess, 2, 3 days, and I went on. Of course, finding these chilies were challenging. One is it's seasonal, and finding fresh ones, fresh lot is was not easy. But luckily, that particular weekend, I was able to find some fresh stuff, and of course, implementing it, like tying those chilies. It took a long, long time. It was like not balancing it. I had to tie it multiple times because they were slipping away from the knots. So the arrangement again took 95% of my time, and the actual shot took about say 15 minutes.
Okay. And how did you manage that board? From where did you get that? The blue color really looks
This
very nice.
Yeah, this board wasn't brown color. It was thrown away on the street. Uh, Again, when I was driving back from my office work, I found this and picked it up. It was definitely not presentable. It was dirty. I cleaned it and I painted it
Okay.
uh, in blue, and got that rugged look.
Okay. So you always have to keep that photography thing in mind and just watch out everything, even mundane things.
Everything,
Useless
yes.
things can sometimes be very nice backgrounds. Oh, that's a
Oh,
very
it's
good
very
learning.
precious. Yeah. I mean, in fact, you find so much of art in discarded
Hmm.
material. And this discarded piece had so much of value. I've taken several beautiful pictures with this background.
Right.
So we got to keep our eyes open wherever we go.
Right.
And it doesn't, sometimes you don't have to pay much to get such beautiful things.
Right. Yeah. I think it's something that money can't buy. Even if you go to a store and ask for some,
Exactly. Yeah, you need that eye for detail and eye to
right,
spot such things.
right. And I also like the this very strange chili that you have, that spiral chili.
Exactly. I'm glad you observed it
Yeah,
because an artistic eye can spot such things, different unusual things, and that is what is needed
yeah,
for the photographer and also for the viewer to enjoy the work.
yeah. And that's why I hate to see pictures on the mobile phone. Though we have Instagram, which is now so
Yes.
big, but I to give just to be do justice to a picture, I think
Justification.
we
Yes.
have to see it on the big screen. So that's what
Uh,
tell people.
I
And
totally
otherwise,
agree.
I would not have noticed this thing.
Exactly. It's very tiny and you can miss attention. Yeah.
Yeah, very beautifully composed. Very nice. Right. So please tell us about this one.
Yeah, this is very challenging. We all know that it is. We have a hot climate in India, and it was particularly challenging for me to shoot ice cream before it melts. And it just happens. Like I generally shoot around 8:30, and I had to set up everything, and I had just 30 seconds to take this shot. But what I did is I put the scoops in the cup and again put it in deep freeze for a few minutes. And then after setting my camera angle, everything, I just place the bowl on the background, and 30 seconds I had to complete the shoot. Uh, yeah, I was quite happy to see the result, and it's it didn't give me a tough time. But yes, for when I was shooting ice creams on the other days, it was misery. This particular one was not bad.
Okay. So, Sarita, what keeps you motivated to keep shooting year after year?
It's a very good question, Saurabh. Well, it's not a rosy picture. I mean, I've had my low moments. Sometimes I feel maybe I should stop clicking. I mean, there are a series of flop images. I mean, things are not working out. I do feel sometimes maybe it's time I stop, but it doesn't happen that way. And there are several factors. One is if you're having shortage of time, or you have a demanding job, or your family requires a lot of time, lot of your attention, this can frustrate you. I mean, this can make you discontinue photography because this is a lifelong hard work process. Every day you need to invest, you need to have your eyes and mind open to see, to collect things, or to keep learning, to keep upgrading. But what kept me going is that I understood that on the days that I am shooting, I'm a very happy person. It was like a form of meditation. In fact, in my rough years, tougher years, when I was things were not going on well, this is one thing that made me forget everything else in my life. So I make it as a priority that I kind of spend little time into it, at least to see images, even if I am not able to shoot, and just to make it as a big part of my life anytime, because it gives me a lot of self satisfaction. I don't depend on it for my survival, but the inner joy that I experience is what makes me keep going with this. And most importantly, I was not into one stream. I mean, after you pursue one particular stream for 10 years or 12 years, it can happen that you start seeing or feeling monotony in it. But I have been changing streams. I don't recommend that the beginners should try out one stream every year. It is not really advisable. But until the time you discover what is your main area of specialization is going to be, we can you can try a lot of streams. So being in various streams, the challenging aspect was always there, the learning was always there, and there was no monotonous feeling about doing one set of shots for years and years. So this is what has kind of motivated me to do it for 10 long years now.
Okay. So you started and you still do photography for yourself, but you also take up some commercial work. So what,
Yes.
yeah, so how different is your approach when you do it for yourself and when you do it for a client? So how different is your approach in that case?
I prefer, as I keep saying, for me, making the mundane food subjects look good is the primary aspect. So for my satisfaction, I pick simple subjects, do it in my own style, and I kind of try to include lot of artistic aspect into it. Well, the client will have different expectations, and the idea is to just enhance, make the subject look good, and he would prefer a black or white background. And he wants the I mean, he will not allow me to place the props as per my creative visualization and things like that. So it actually helps you to enhance your photography skills also. One is you have the freedom to implement everything according to your visualization, and in commercial photography you're doing it as per the expectations of the client. So you got to have spontaneity. I mean, you got to meet their expectations, but that will raise your skills. I mean, it will make you do those things which you would not have tried doing it. So I like both the aspects, in fact.
Okay, great. Let us move to the next picture. Wow, very nice.
Yeah, the challenge that I was going through while taking this pic is the reflection. Again, this was taken in natural lighting condition. The reflection of light on the spoons. I didn't want that to be distracting. It was all over the handles, and I had to move it from one place to another to ensure that the spoons don't get attention. And finally, at a particular angle in particular corner, I was successful in getting the shot so that the food is, I mean, the colors are standing out. But this is one of my most favorite images in my collection.
Okay, so this was shot in natural light.
Yes, and again, my style, a simple, basic
Hmm,
food ingredients that's available in our kitchen. We don't
right,
even realize that it has got beauty in it. So I
right,
wanted to create beauty out of it.
right. And if you can tell us a little bit about how you process this picture, what are the steps, maybe quickly, if you can tell us?
There was nothing much because the generally my food images, they come out pretty well. It doesn't require a change of composition. Composition is like, you know how much of it you want it in the frame, so
Right,
you know where to place the main elements. So all that is in place. It's all playing with highlights and shadow effect played a big role here, and a bit of enhancing the, especially the turmeric area, and the red chili powder. That's where I need to enhance the textures and highlights to make
okay,
them stand out.
okay. So, Sarita, in your experience, what are the common frustrating aspects in this journey of photographers are experiencing? So, what do you feel about this? And what advice would you
Yes,
like to give to the beginners in this aspect?
yes. I mean, generally, we would like to give a rosy picture of our journey, of our experiences, of our work, but we all know the fact that it has, every coin has two sides. So
Right,
there will be a lot of low moments, lot of frustrating aspects that me, or of course I have gone through a lot, and any photographer goes through. One is during my initial years, any good image that I used to see, I was thinking it's all coming from an expensive gear. You know, I can't click good images I can't win. I can't make prize-winning images because I have basic model camera. So, like, I can't create beautiful images. So this is what most of the photographers, especially in the initial stages, feel. They assume, which is not at all true. You can It's all about how you see a particular subject, how you view a particular scene and presented it in an artistic manner. Your camera definitely, will do the job for you, but it will not stop you from creating a good picture. So I was spending a lot of energy thinking, look, I don't have this camera, but someone else is having expensive gear. So they can do better. This is not true. Please remove any such disturbing assumptions away from your head. You can click a great picture with your mobile also. Of course, having good camera, good lens is an advantage. It is an advantage, but it should not stop you from taking a good picture. Never limit yourself thinking that you don't have gear. You just need artistic vision to see and appreciate beauty.
Very true.
And yeah, so that will make wonders. So, in fact, I have gathered so many gadgets that I'm not even using. I don't even remember having it. I've not even opened from the seal. I'm just using natural light and one lens and one camera. It does wonders. So what I have understood is a lot of time, energy photographers at initial stages spend on brooding over the equipment that they don't have, which is a waste of time. So I don't discuss gears. I don't talk about complicated and expansive collection of equipment. It's just the way you see and the persistence that you show in this field. That is more important. And secondly, yes, social media has a lot of advantages. It gives you the advantage of sharing your work easily, getting feedback, and appreciating someone else's work. But there's another side to it. You get into comparisons. You want to be better than the other person. And you're unhappy sometimes when you see someone else doing very well or not getting the attention. Now,
Very
these
true.
are distracting factors. I mean, people, photographers especially, they do not acknowledge this, but it's a part of everybody's journey. It is happening.
Absolutely. Fully
So,
agree.
my advice is first ask yourself, are you getting self satisfaction from your work? Are you enjoying this? Are you doing it for yourself? And that matters the most. So these two things is what I wanted to discuss mainly especially with the upcoming
Yeah,
photographers.
very thoughtful and yeah, very apt. Right. All right. So let us move to the next picture. Wow.
So again, yeah, this was most of it were taken when I was in India, and as usual, visualization is the most important aspect, but it was different. I went to a bakery because I was hungry and I wanted to pick a puff for myself, and then I saw these tiny rusks. These are very small and it was beautiful. It had a beautiful pattern that I saw in them. So for a change, I bought this and then I developed the visualization to, execute the shot in this manner. So this was all this happened and just I picked the rust the previous day evening and implemented it next day morning. Again, this was taken in natural lighting condition. So this was done with 2470 mm and processing was the least because I have no colors in it or a major shadow highlight aspect in it. So it's almost out of your camera with basic touch ups. That's it.
Okay. So if you are getting it right in the camera, there is hardly any need of post processing, not
Yeah,
much.
and that happens with food photography sometimes. I mean, it's almost all you have to do is just work on a few highlights and adjust the contrast aspect, and rest of it will be in place.
Right. Great. Lovely. I like that human element in the picture here.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. This model is my husband, in fact, and I put the tattoo on his hand for the shot.
Okay.
Uh, and this is again a simple image. All that you needed was the peppers in different colors. I had to explore the market to find fine ones like this, and getting all three colors at one place is difficult. I had to run around different shops to gather all these colored peppers, and shot came out easily. Again, natural light.
Okay. So do you have the pictures that you shared with us? Do you have any pictures taken in artificial light, or do you use artificial light at all?
I do.
Okay.
I think I have shared. I'll probably in the next set of
Okay.
images, they'll
Okay.
come up. Yeah.
Okay. But you always prefer shooting in natural light any day.
Natural light, yes. And I've also used the combination of both artificial and natural
Okay.
light.
Okay.
Sometimes just the artificial light too.
Right. Wow.
So the name of this picture is Art in the Kitchen or Colors of Kitchen. So I wanted to show the beauty of the basic ingredients. Again, we have coming from the nature and also that we have in the kitchen. It didn't really require any complicated collection of props or setting or anything like that.
Okay. And you use some
So
textured paper for the background.
absolutely, that's a textured paper, and this is black background and black surface.
Mm,
Again,
beautiful.
the extreme right one is also a textured paper.
Very nice.
So yeah, the simple spread of chili and turmeric has given a artistic feel to the entire image.
Right. So, what is there any particular angle that is your favorite while shooting some shots, or it does it vary from picture to picture?
Yeah, well, my most favorite is flat lay,
Okay.
flat composition, but I do take 45-degree angle images also, sometimes 20 or sometimes 60, depending on the subject.
Okay.
This is a common breakfast thing here. So everything that is needed was already available at home for me. So I had to just plan the background and one important in the sense the general aspect in food photography is like the breakfast or the snacks are always mostly presented against light background, white or blues or pale shaded backgrounds are required to present this kind of food. And generally, if it is lunch or dinner, it goes well against dark background. So since this is breakfast food material, I mean, I wanted to go for a neutral or a light background for this. And yeah, I mean, everything is basic. I mean, it's out of the kitchen.
Very nice. Beautiful.
This is our favorite Indian breakfast. I'm
Yes.
sure everybody knows what it is. Rather than presenting idlis in plate, I wanted to present it in a different perspective, like presenting it with the idli stand. Of course, the challenging aspect is since I use natural light, the reflection was falling on the metal. So again, it was challenging for me to find a location which would not throw a lot of light on the steel or the stand. Otherwise, the shot was pretty simple. I mean, make idlis and you eat it after the shot is done. It was
Okay.
all that.
Okay. So, don't you feel bad that the food gets cold by the time you eat it, or you do it so quickly?
This is a very challenging aspect. That is why we have extra food. I mean, there's once extra plate of food that's lying for you. If you feel like you're getting tempted, you just have to grab it and eat it and not disturb the ones which are facing your camera.
Great. So, guys, thank you so much for watching us today. So, we will continue with a few more pictures that Sarita has, and she is going to explain us. And I'm sure you are having fun understanding how she has done these pictures, her approach, her way of thinking. And if you have any questions to her, you can always type in the comments, and we will take the questions once we finish the presentation. Okay, and yeah, and we'll
Surely.
have a lot more interviews in future. So please make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get updates to the next ones which we are doing. So today evening also we have one interview at 4 with a very inspirational photographer. Okay, so let's continue. No, that was you.
Yeah. I'll just grab a photo.
So here again, I really like the background and the
Yes.
props that you used here. So looks like you have a huge collection of props for all these different kind of pictures.
Yes. Yes. This is a very important aspect. Most of my time, especially after I've started still life photography, most of my time went around going around places and finding basic props and also attractive props. It really requires the study of what is available in the market, what you see. You need to have them handy. It's not always about food. Props enhances food, and kind of gives a great feel to the entire image. You have a great deal of work to do with your backgrounds and a great deal of work in collecting your props and understanding the color combination. So especially an image like this where you have pink, yellow, and brown, you need to understand what is the background that's going to enhance, what is that one color that's going to enhance all the three colors that's visible here. So that basically that comes instantaneously with an artist, but you don't have to be a painting artist to do this. If you start understanding the combination, the color schemes, and spend a little time understanding the color wheel, over a period of time you will understand what background goes with what subject and what plate works for what kind of food. So all this requires a lot of observation, mainly collection and implementation. I mean, the moment you're putting it in one particular cup, it doesn't mean you have a successful image out there. You have
Right.
to try, I mean, shift it, rearrange it, shift it in a different color plate and keep on trying.
Right. And about the arrangement of these three different color contents. So is there an, I mean, any rule for that, or you just try it and find out what works best?
I took the shot in several angles in different dimensions, and this I found it to be the best one. That is because it is definitely showing off the layers and all the textures very well. So I took I took a shot from side angle and from top angle. I found this to be the best.
Okay,
So
great.
each subject requires a different approach.
Right. All right. So anything, Sarita, that you wish you knew when you started?
Food photography.
Yes.
Or, yeah, I mean, I wish I kind of went through a formal styling course or had more knowledge of kitchen. But anyway, never too late. That goes on parallelly. Sorry, even now.
Great. So let's move to the next one. Wow, this is again very nice. That shine that you get, that glow, beautiful.
Yes, this is more of a still life, creative still life photography, and here the entire highlight is about the way you one manages shadows and highlights. Imagine there's a flat light, this image will be a complete zero. It's all about how you where you place your reflectors, where you from which angle you're blocking the light. There's nothing about the subject. If you see, it's a plain onion and garlic and a chili and a bottle, regular bottle that's available anywhere. But here, it's more of highlights and shadows, which has given complete beauty to the subjects.
Beautiful. So how many shots did you take for this one perfect shot?
I did a bit of rearrangement, but I guess this took about 160, 170
Wow.
image shots. Yeah,
Oh, that's quite
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, and the background that you see was again a rusted tin that was discarded on the road,
Wow.
and I pick it's pretty heavy. It's quite heavy,
Wow.
and one cannot imagine that such a rusted, discarded thing can be
Looks so
so
beautiful.
precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Sarita, how do you gain your knowledge? So, is it through books, or do you have some? I mean, you go through some YouTube channels or some blogs, or what is your most reliable and go-to source of information for you?
Yeah, I mean, strangely, I've not been going through a lot of video sessions for this. I observe the food ads published in the magazines, so hoardings and food. Even the food packages will have interesting perspectives. Of course, we don't have to copy it as it is, but it throws some ideas, and of course go through a lot of pictures created by the other artists. And if it is still life photography, I observe a lot of vintage paintings that throws a lot of light, and it gives you immense knowledge and ideas how you can compose an image, how you can uh, set the arrangement. I mean, make the arrangements and how to introduce shadows and highlights in your images.
Is there any book that you refer to?
Not really.
Okay,
Not really.
great. Oh, gives that Hyderabadi feeling, that Telugu newspaper.
Yes, of course. I mean, this is a representation of street food. Again, I did not have a visualization of this. I was in the market, and the vendor had all these, selling, and I love the colors. I love the shapes, and I didn't know how I was going to execute this shot, but I collected. I mean, I picked all this, and for 1 week I was thinking how I can present this image. And I tried the different angles and putting them in cups and stuff like that. This seems to be the hit,
Yeah,
because I presented it the way it is sold, literally. I mean, like during our school days, we used to buy, palis and batanes in this form. So I decided to present it in the same way.
exactly. And it looks even much better. The experience kind of gets enhanced because you have this newspaper.
Exactly.
It
Of
actually
course,
takes
I
you to
had to
that
run
place.
around getting
Yeah,
a Telugu local newspaper. It was not very difficult, though I did not have it. So finally, I mean, this was a successful shot.
beautiful. My mouth is already watering to see this.
Yeah, I had tough time too while shooting. I had to kind of resist looking at them and not putting them in my mouth. It was quite difficult. So this required a lot of pre-work, and here understanding what kind of props that would enhance the subject. This took quite a long time because since the subjects are mostly in yellow, I didn't think, I mean, black would make it appear regular. So, I mean, I literally had to kind of go through my entire collection, and this really worked out well. This has kind of not only enhanced the image, it had a particular shape. In fact, it's not just, if you observe, it's not just the food that is appealing here. The props are playing an important role. So most of the time, it's not just the food that is going to decide how your image is going to look. I mean, the selection of props is so crucial. So this is a perfect example to
Beautiful.
demonstrate how important it is for you to have an eye for collecting such props.
Right. And I really like the composition, one diagonal and then these circles
Yes,
around. So beautiful. Very
yes.
nice.
This had a different, I mean, interesting dimension. I like this particular pan. I mean, this is a wood pan. I bought it first. I didn't know what I was going to shoot. I liked it so much, and I had to create this a scene to fundamentally show off that particular prop that I had. So it went in a different direction. I was not sure that I wanted to shoot pasta, but like I figured out to that pasta would kind of make this prop look good. So here, the whole thing came out of props and ended up like this.
Beautiful.
Yes, this took quite a while for me to implement. I had this visualization for 2 weeks, and the primary thing was basically understand where in which prop I'm going to put the pasta and how I'm going to make them fly in the air, and what is needed to cover the space below, and also to I wanted to show the process of preparation, the process of preparing this dish. So I needed relevant resources. So for that, I needed to do my groundwork of understanding what vegetables goes along with this, what ingredients goes along with that, go about collecting this and actually executing it. So there are two ways to click such images. One is you literally drop the things and do it in a high shutter speed, or you suspend this using wires. That takes a long, long time. It keeps slipping, even while you're fixing it or while you're taking the image. And you got to have plenty of time to implement such falling food images. So a lot of time went around, for me to fix these on wires.
Wow. So you fix them on wires.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And so then you remove the wires later in post process.
Yes, I'm at
Wow.
post-processing stage.
Wow. So
Of course, this
yeah.
can be done in many other ways also. You are actually, there are several shots that I have taken where the food is actually falling, and all the work is done, with the shutter speed. But this particular one is done using wires.
Wow. Beautiful. So I was always wondering how you got those elements so separate from each other.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
not very
So,
difficult, of course, but time taking.
but thank you so much for sharing these secrets. I appreciate it very much. So will be really
It's my
helpful for other
pleasure.
people.
Yes. These, yeah. the set of images that were on the screen, the next ones, it represents more of still life.
Mm.
Yeah, it's more of creative still life. Idea is not to show food, but using food to create such a painting like images. I mean, this is one stream, again, slightly different from food photography. Here we use food material to show off the objects. The food actually complements the objects that we want to show. So for this, we require a painting like approach. So this is one stream I'm really exploring a lot parallelly.
Beautiful. Very nice. So do you refer to some paintings for doing this, or you just think out, I mean, on your own?
Well, this has to be a lot of your individual perceptions or your imagination and visualization. So I have collected these props not for a specific shot. I've collected these because these are good, but implementing it, how do I present them? It takes a long, long time, and I've had a lot of failed shots also. But this one has been really appealing for me.
Really good.
This
Beautiful.
is a pre-visualized shot. This is summertime and I wanted to show that this is pickle time and basically understand what are the ingredients required for making pickles. So went looking for mangoes and of course I always have jars in my collection and finding this good looking tomatoes, it was challenging, especially, I mean, like India, this is not common. But fortunately, I mean, I had luck of finding both the good-looking mangoes and good-looking tomatoes, and implemented this. Wasn't very difficult. Uh, It's shot under natural light again.
Okay. And I can see a little bit of noise in the picture. So is it intentional or?
Intentional, yes. I mean,
Okay.
if I want to create an image that looks like a painting, I generally avoid. Of course, I would require highlights to bring life into images, but I add a bit of noise to kind of have the texture in the image.
Beautiful. Like the
Yeah,
color combinations, absolutely.
yes, I would. This is one thing that I loved after I came here. I mean, this is not easily available in India, but after coming here, I found this in the market. So I picked it up, and the challenge here was I had to shoot this in few hours, matter of few hours before it loses its freshness. So kind of had to then figure out what is the contrast that will enhance the look of this image, and tried it against black and blue. Blue seemed to have worked very well.
So did you carry a lot of your backgrounds from India to Australia?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it it traveled in a ship.
Okay.
This is our favorite South Indian specialty, sambar. I've wanted to shoot sambar, but implementation and visualization, I knew I wanted to shoot sambar. But again, I had to kind of sit and think how I wanted to present it. So accordingly, I had to go pick this steel bucket and spoon. And as usual, these vegetables wanted a different background. I mean, obviously, in South India, generally the food is served traditionally on this banana leaf. It wasn't very easy for me to find such fresh looking banana leaf. And by the time I get it home and take a picture, sometimes it used to wither. And these are the practical challenges. It it takes a combination of so many factors falling into place that makes one successful image.
Right. Right. So, what are your future plans now with respect to photography?
Well, now that there are different food options available here. I would like to experiment and try shooting international food. Uh, have a different approach. Of course, I've done a lot of Indian food photography. Now I want to try the food, taking the images of food that's available here as far as food photography is concerned. And still life, my aim is to click very interesting picture of mundane subject that you see at home, boring subject. I want to present it in a beautiful and creative manner. As far as still life, creative still life photography endeavor is concerned, want to keep shooting a lot for my self satisfaction, and I wish to definitely continue teaching whenever I find time, even if I find a job here. Want to share the knowledge that I have been gaining, and want to make people discover how beautiful this art is. I would do everything to share my expertise.
Okay, great. So, how is still life or food photography different from other genres of photography?
That's a very nice question. For other streams of photography, you got to have your eye open for the situation, and everything is I mean, it's a luck factor. It's you have to, if you're talking about wildlife photography, you can go to a place and wait for the subject to come, and you have to wait for the subject to place itself in the position, right position. Nothing is under your control except for your camera settings. You have to utilize the available light, and the same goes for travel photography as well. Nothing is under your control. You can only control your camera, the angle, and you being there at the right time. So it's there's a lot of luck factor. And whereas every food photography or in still life photography, everything is planned, pre-planned. You're setting the entire scene. It's There's no element of luck. You know, where you have the freedom to choose when you want to shoot, how you want to place the elements, and what you want to shoot. Saying that, it doesn't mean that it is easy. It can be very frustrating. So everything is under your control. So that is one of the biggest advantages and the biggest difference compared to the other streams. So all that is important is the knowledge of a bit of knowledge of kitchen, and aspect of the color schemes, how the arrangement of elements and subjects, your composition, all this plays a vital role.
Right. So for me, it is very easy to blame the weather for a bad shot, but yeah. But
I
if
don't
I
have an excuse. Yeah, I don't have an excuse. I don't have a reason. I have to just, that is why I keep saying the frustrating aspect is you have a visualization. Sometimes your image doesn't turn up anywhere closer to it.
right,
So that can be very frustrating, and the arrangement can get very, very tedious. Very
yeah,
tedious. You feel, oh my God, now to spend 2 hours to arrange everything.
yeah. So that was the next question I was going to ask you. What are the challenges in your area of specialization, which is yeah, food and still life?
There are plenty of advantages, as I have stated before, that everything is under your control. Lighting is under your control, and setting up of scene is under your control. You don't have the risk of your subject running away or moving away when you're about to get a good shot. All these are the advantages. Well, disadvantages are also many. Surprisingly, it is very expensive. You
Is
got to
it?
have
Okay,
wide range of props in your collection, because imagine you're using the same prop in every image. Doesn't it get monotonous? It is expensive, and sometimes you have to find attractive, good looking, expensive things in your collection. Even background preparation requires a lot of investment. imagine you are shooting different food subjects on the same background. All your images will start looking the same. So for that, you need to bring variance. So it is expensive. It is an expensive affair, and you need a lot of space to store all your collection. In fact,
Right.
one big room needs to be given
Mm,
off to play store all this, your backgrounds, your spoons, your plates, your strobes. It requires a lot of space.
right.
And the most challenging aspect is managing your weight, your calories. You have
Okay.
all the attractive food lying in front of you, not eating after the shoot. Obviously, you want to eat them. You're just not going to throw them. And get all the good food, and like managing your weight is an aspect. And frustration levels also comes in very easily
Yeah.
because
So that's a
the
question I was going to ask you next. So what are your
yeah.
frustrations as a photographer, if you have any?
I tried lot of streams. I mean, I felt I could do macro easily. I could do travel. That doesn't mean I'm underestimating those. I mean, every aspect had its frustration. So I was overconfident. And the simple Apple image, I see it in the ad. I can also do it easily. It's going to be static, and I'm just going to get it easily. Believe me, it is not. The way you have to control the light and present it in an appetizing manner. I mean, you have to present your food image in such a way that makes the viewer feel longing for it. It is not easy. I mean, the frustration occurred in me because I was overconfident. I misjudged thinking that it's going to be easy, but it is nowhere closer to being easy.
Okay,
So
great.
even uh,
Mm.
today, I mean, till date, I shot, I uh, kind of had two shoots and both of them were a flop. So those are the moments I feel, no, I have to give up now. So there are plenty of times like that.
So thank you so much for being so open-hearted and sharing these things that generally people don't share.
Yes.
These aspects of photography. So honestly, even for me, I have done shoots and everything has to be abandoned and the whole thing has to be done all over again. So yeah, it happens with everybody of us. Yeah.
The reason why I am trying to be open is because generally, yes, people go through frustration. I don't want them to give up thinking that this is difficult. I don't have this gear, or someone else on social media is getting more likes or more followers, so therefore I don't. These are the factors. Yes, it's influencing it, most of the photographers, but
Right.
giving up is not a solution. This is a very common feeling that everybody goes through.
Right.
But end of the day, your artistic pursuit is for your self satisfaction, and
Right.
going through challenges is what is going to enhance your skills.
Right, right. So that's very nice what you say. I think it's a big learning for people who are listening to us, especially the beginners, that we every photographer has its own highs and lows, and we have to go through everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So it's very nice that you shared this topic that generally no, not nobody covers this. We generally talk about successes and beautiful images, but there's a lot of bad things. And even I have seen some
yes,
people totally quitting photography because of these low moments.
yes, yes. And this would have occurred in everyone.
I'm sure.
Everyone, people. I mean, we are shy to express this aspect, but today I'm specifically repeatedly saying this because these moments are present in every photographer's journey.
Right,
But it should not under any circumstance motivate you to give up or become lethargic, because there is a lot of beauty in it. There's a lot of satisfactory aspect that one gains. So for those special moments, we have to endure the difficulties and the frustrations.
right, right. Great. Oh, this image looks so tempting.
Yes. We know the most important aspect about food photography is we need to understand what are the ingredients that goes well with a particular food subject, and it is we can use them to add textures or use them as background or use them to divert the eye of the viewer to the subject. So all this plays an important role. So a knowledge about kitchen and different cuisine is basic. You don't have to be a chef to create food. I'm not a chef, but basic idea is needed. So here we all know to make spicy buttermilk that we require coriander and jeera and stuff like that. So having such basic idea helps in making a good food image.
Right.
And if you are not, no need to worry. I mean, it's easy, it's common, it's available. This information is available with your mothers or
Mm.
anybody at home preparing food. So it shouldn't be an hindrance. So you can do it parallelly.
Okay, great. Beautiful. So this again natural light.
This is again natural light is required, and I had a necessity to block the light from the other side, the left side. So, fundamentally, I covered light from two angles, partially from the top and also from the left side, and allowed the sun ray fall on these subjects.
Okay. So even if you are using natural light, are you using some things like diffusers or reflectors to shape your light?
Yes, definitely. Sometimes sunlight is harsh. I mean, you cannot afford to have complete light falling on the subject because then you're losing the detail. The highlights can be very distracting. So I use thin white plate cotton cloth to diffuse the light. And of course, other diffusers also. And black cardboard or diffuser is definitely needed to create such shots if you want to introduce shadows in your image.
Great. So we have come to the last image of your show, and definitely not the least, I should say. Great. So please tell us a little bit about how
These
you.
are waffles. I mean, uh, this is kind of very common here, and I had the visualization. So all I had to do was go to the market, pick the waffles and the fruits that generally goes well along with this. So then I had to decide what kind of plates are going to enhance the subject, and obviously black and gray works better for such bright colored subjects. So this fundamentally it becomes easy when you start practicing food photography. It comes naturally. I mean, you'll start figuring it automatically. You'll go pick your white or neutral color plates easily as per the requirement. So it all becomes very easy in the due course.
Great. All right. So thank you, Sarita, for just sharing your pictures and telling us your secrets. It was really wonderful. And so now we'll just go through the questions that we have, and maybe you can just answer a few of them.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So we have a lot of comments, but I think we'll have to just choose the questions that will be yeah, and of
Yes,
course you can read the comments later. Okay.
yes.
So okay, so Tulsi is asking, I have always liked still photos. Can you please elaborate on how to guide light to create painting like look, like the
Okay.
mangle and the pickle story?
Yes, I really like this question. The most important factor is avoid straight light. I mean, never use direct flash onto it. A straight light is going to flatten the image. So if you want to enhance the textures of the objects that you want to shoot, the best way is to have a side light coming from any degree, 45-degree or 20-degree, or side light from left side or right side. So what do you want to enhance? I mean, if the subject, let's say there's a pot that you want to enhance, place it at a stage where the light is falling, the side light is falling, and the other elements can go in the shadow area, because they are only kind of enhancing the look of the image. You don't really have to show them off in complete light. So these fundamentally managing the shadows and highlight is very important in a still life painting like images.
Great. Okay, so Tulsi, again asking the question. So one thing I noticed is your work in your work is that your colors are spot on. Please share on how you control the white balance. How do you manage it?
Uh, p- Honestly speaking, I don't give a lot of prominence. White balance is at its normal setting. The most important aspect is I manage contrast. I manage the background in such a way that it has to give beauty to the whole image, and at the same time ensure that it doesn't distract the viewer's attention away from the subject. So here, understanding the color scheme is the most important aspect. And again, if you have a dark subject, it goes with basic photography teaching that you kind of go for metering, different metering mode, which I will not be discussing because that comes under basic photography lessons. But for in a still life picture scenario, colors is everything. It's going to rule your image.
Okay. So we have one more question. So wildlife around us is asking, hi ma'am, uh, do you prefer or practice shooting other genres now to get inspiration for your food images?
To be very honest, the last 2, 3 years, I could not find time to do other genres also. But I do take time to go through beautiful heritage seascape images. I get my memories, flooding back of all the times, that I stood in Kanyakumari, shooting the spectacular sunrise. But honestly speaking, timing is a major constraint, and so I'm doing is creative tabletop right now.
Great. So thank you so much, Sarita, for answering the question. So it was really lovely talking to you and going through your pictures. And let me tell you, you were very honest in sharing a lot of things that generally people are not willing to share. So I think that will be a very good learning for the people who are listening to us. So thank you once again. If you want to say a
Thanks a
few.
lot, Saurabh, for giving me an opportunity to share, my experiences with the viewers and photographers who are kind of going through this journey. And it's definitely a learning experience for me also, by answering the questions, the beautiful questions that's coming towards me.
So so keep shooting, keep inspiring us, and yeah. So you were saying something, yeah.
Yeah, so I wish all the viewers all the best, and Saurabh, to see our photo classes also. I'm sure you're sharing wonderful experiences and learning, delivering so much of learning to so many aspirants in Hyderabad and places around. It's a great work, in fact.
Thank you. And yeah,
Yeah,
guys,
so
if you want to follow, you must follow Sarita. So I have mentioned her links in the YouTube description. So please go to them and please follow her and get inspired from her work. Okay. So thank you so much once again, Sarita. I'm really grateful to you for your time and keep inspiring us. And I am always looking forward to seeing more of your
thank you
pictures.
so much. You all have a wonderful day.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye bye.